Hello, I'm Chris Osmond, and this is Solutions. Enough complaining, let's fix America. Today, I want to talk about how the police have been, what's been going on with all these cases like George Floyd's and others where black people have been killed, not only just killed, but killed in their homes, where you should feel a modicum of safety. This is very wrong, obviously. And my fear is that with these indictments or arrests, just not indictments, but arrests of these police officers involved with George Floyd's murder, that people will start to dissipate. The protests will start to dissipate. But I hope that people will realize that these protests, there is no way that hundreds of years of injustice against black people or against Americans in general could be resolved in a few weeks of protest. And besides that, like I always have said, there's an underlying reason or rationale for these cops' behavior. Cops don't kill for free. Cops kill because they're paid to kill. Now might sound a little hyperbolic, but think about it. If cops, every time they killed somebody, and they had videos such as that shown with George, in the case of George Floyd's murder, maybe if they had some financial accountability, maybe if they were part of the lawsuits for these murders that occur, maybe if they not only went to prison, but also had to pay for their misdeeds, maybe they would check themselves. Maybe they would have more of a sense of justice and greater morality than they seem to have. Because right now, cops they seem like just another gang. And there's so many videos. I'll post one. I'll link to a video down below where it's just a compilation of police basically brutalizing the public. Peaceful protesters, people driving by in cars, cops trying to run people over in their police vehicles. It's just getting really out of hand. And I just hope that the American people, as I've said, realize that this is not some problem that's just about racism. It's not just about police brutality. It's about the thing that underlies all of those issues and most of the issues that are going on around the planet and in America. Things like wealth inequality. We have people who are want to continue to hoard all the money that is being put out there, and what they're doing in this effort is going to more extreme measures to do so. So, like I've said in the past, capitalism. Scarcity is not a bug of capitalism. It's a feature of capitalism because in capitalism, it's a dog eat dog system. So people, and you can say, oh, that's deregulated capitalism. But all capitalism goes towards deregulation because after, companies run out of ways in which they can legally and morally make money, they start to push for lobbying to make more things that should be illegal and that are illegal. They get those things made legal. And this all goes to the power structure that exists in America. The wealthy want to maintain the status quo. And to do so, they pay the police to protect them when it's supposed to be our tax dollars. To me, a lot of police forces around the nation, I don't know if it's every police force, but they're subsidized through our tax dollars. Not subsidized, but paid for through our tax dollars. So we are literally, everybody who works in America and pays tax dollars that go to police forces are literally paying the police to brutalize and murder us. The problem is that there's money that they also get in which it compels them to do the things that they do. Because trust me, if they were not getting paid to act the way they are, if they were getting paid to be more civil and to serve and protect the majority of the people, they would do that. And they would stop this nonsense about going home as job number one. There is nowhere in their oath that says job number one is that they go home. Their oath is to serve and protect the civilians and the people that they oversee or that there are their charges. So basically, I was looking at some of the instances when cops have been indicted. and let alone convicted, because that rarely happens. I was looking at one instance in Dallas County where two cops were indicted or convicted, and they were talking about how this is Dallas County is bucking the national trend. And then if you look at it, two cops out of the 50 police involved shootings have been convicted and sentenced and put in prison. That's 4%. That's a very low percentage of the number of murders that occur, especially when you see all the videos of these cops. And it's almost too apparent that the cops were in the wrong. I mean, even if they don't get convicted of like first or second or third degree murder, manslaughter or something, they don't even get indicted. They usually just get suspended or they'll get fired and then they go find jobs. There's too many cases where you hear about a cop who just found a job somewhere else. And as far as this, this argument that, oh, it's not all cops are bad. It's just a few bad apples. Well, in my opinion, if there's so few bad apples, or if there's just a few bad apples, then the good cops should be arresting those bad cops and getting those bad cops out of the system. And it's been decades since this stuff has been occurring. Yet and still, they can't seem to weed out these bad cops. And more often than not, the cops have had a history of brutality while wearing the uniform. So that argument does not hold water. I mean, you can, just like I say with almost everything that our leaders say, look at what they're saying, then look at the world in which you live, and compare the two. Do your research. Go out and look things up. Find statistics, because you can find statistics basically going either way on almost every issue. But one thing that you could do, the next step that you can do after you find those divergent statistics or ideas or policies, is to actually look at the world in which you live. Now, do we see a bunch of videos where the police are handling these cases properly? No, I'm sure there's instances of that as well. But the fact that we see so many videos where they get away with what I believe is murder, that says something about the system. And we cannot protest for a few weeks just to get those who murdered George Floyd or those who've murdered other black people, unarmed black people, children, people in their homes. We can't, just allow the protest to die down, because this is about a lot more than just police brutality. Somebody's paying those police to be brutal. It's supposed to be the taxpayer, but I think they're also getting subsidized somewhere else to continue to be brutal to those who they're supposed to protect and serve. As far as how to fix police brutality, a solution for police brutality and unjust, immoral, illegal police murders, I have a previous video, and also in my book, I talk about the things that I believe could mitigate some of these unjustified murders. There are other groups that have ideas as far as what we need to do to fix systemic racism in the police forces around the nation, and I have my own, which I presented in the book. Link is for the book is below, so you can look at my solutions, and also in the video. You don't even have to look in the book. I've also read the excerpt from the book where I talk about police brutality and a possible solution to that brutality. Like I said, others have their solutions. That just happens to be mine, which is more than what we see coming from the authorities. The authorities keep, addressing these peaceful protests with violence from the police. They don't seem to understand that if you continue to suppress peaceful protests and you continue to not address the complaints and grievances of those people protesting, then you will end up with violent protests. And what they also don't seem to realize is that police have families too. And eventually, the police and the military will realize that their families are suffering at the hands of the same people that they're protecting. And then, when that happens, look out, because once you have the military and the police go against you, you're in trouble. So the wealthy, they need to take heed of what Nick Hanauer said. The pitchforks are coming. This is a billionaire who did a TED talk where he talks about how the pitchforks are coming unless the wealthy start wising up and they stop hoarding all the wealth in the nation, because eventually that money's not even going to be worth anything to most people. So they're going to turn away from those kinds of those, like the dollar. They're going to turn away from it if it is so devalued by the Federal Reserve printing trillions and trillions and putting it into the economy. Eventually, the dollar will become worthless, and that might possibly be what they're trying to do, because all currencies fail, or all fiat currencies fail, and all empires come to an end. It just seems like our leaders want to hasten the end of the American empire. This democratic experiment seems to be coming to an end, and there are things that we can do to stop it. We can make it more sustainable, but we don't have leaders who are looking to make these things sustainable. You can't have a country where people are starving, where millions and millions of people are starving, and that number continues to increase, and your leadership does nothing, absolutely almost nothing. $1,200 one-time payment is nothing, in my opinion, especially in light of the fact that $3 to $4 trillion has already gone out the door to enhance the pockets of the wealthy. Anyway, again, thanks for joining me. I hope you join me again for another Solutions. Enough complaining. Let's fix America. Links to the book are down below. Subscribe. Tell your friends about the videos. I know they're a little dry, but all I'm trying to do is convey information. Maybe down the line I'll start being entertaining and start having clowns and all kinds of silly crap on here. But right now, I'm just trying to convey the information. Anyway, thank you again. Bye.